Hello, and welcome to another episode of the To Carnivore podcast. We're back with AnthonyChaffee, the plant-free MD. Anthony, welcome.
Hey, thanks, man. How are you?
Very good, thank you, mate. You're all kitted up, ready to go.
Yeah, well, just went. I just finished up surgery, so yeah, have a bit of a break.
Very good. So the topic for today is all about hormones, and we're going to talk about a world that I know very little about, and that's female hormones and estrogen. So maybe we can start off by explaining exactly what estrogen is and how it's created.
Yeah, well, estrogen is one of the main sex hormones in people. Both men and women produce it and use it, and you men need a little bit of it.
Also, men have estrogen too.
Yeah, and you actually need some of it. So you don't. People will think about like bodybuilders and other people. Well, obviously you can take exogenous estrogen and try to change your body features, or if someone is taking other hormones that can mess with your testosterone and your estrogen, and so you have to take different drugs to modulate these. But you actually do need some estrogen. Estrogen is actually very important for men as well.
That like a bodybuilder who's taking exogenous testosterone might also need estrogen to sort of
balance?
No.
No, the opposite. So some of that testosterone can get converted into estrogen, so they have to take estrogen blockers. So like things that will block the conversion of testosterone into estrogen, because we all start out with testosterone and then it gets converted into estrogen. So even women don't just make estrogen, they make testosterone, which is then converted into estrogen.
Okay.
And so if you're taking just buttloads of testosterone, a portion of that can be converted into estrogen, and then you get those sort of different sorts of issues related to high estrogen in men.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's so that's one of the sex hormones. Obviously, there's testosterone, and then there's progesterone for women, and these all have to be in a very, very specific and ordered balance, or else you aren't going to be in perfect health. There's tons of other hormones as well, but just specifically for reproductive health, these are very, very important. For women, obviously estrogen and progesterone are your main ones, but you actually do still need a bit of testosterone. The problem comes when that goes out of balance, because as we mentioned in the female fertility episode, and I'm talking about PCOS, the conversion of testosterone to estrogen happens in the ovaries, but when you have high insulin levels, you will actually block that conversion. So insulin will block that conversion from testosterone into estrogen. And so
not good.
Yeah, no, not good. So women will have much higher levels of testosterone than they actually want. And then they'll have much lower levels of estrogen than they actually want. And this can have quite a lot of problems, and people can develop PCOS, and which is one of the leading causes of infertility in women, but it also causes a lot of other problems. So you can gain weight, you can have what's called hirsutism, which is they inappropriately grow hair on their face and their back, or other places as well that you would typically see in men and not women. So that's obviously not desirable in many cases, in most cases, just from an appearance point of view, but you also feel like crap. Yeah. And when you're not getting your period and you're not able to conceive, that's a very baseline level of health. That's sort of a canary in the coal mine, that things are wrong, and your body's just basically saying, nope, we're not going to subject ourselves to creating another life, because there's things are too far out of whack. It's not going to work. So things just sort of shut off. And so that's what you see. And so you see in there's Dr. Kiltz, who's been a reproductive endocrinology for decades, and he's been a carnivore for over a decade, and he actually incorporates this into his practice, getting women healthy and able to conceive men as well. Dr. Ken Berry actually in one of his videos talks about how when he would get women just on a ketogenic diet, they would have much better health in general, but also reproductive health. And he actually would have a few women actually came in who they were in menopause, and all of a sudden they come back and they're pregnant and they're
Oh man.
pissed. So they're like, what did you do to me? Well, they were so healthy that they came out of menopause and had a kid. And so, it's very surprising when you're 50 and you've been in menopause for 5 years, and all of a sudden you're pregnant. But it's also
a sign of great health.
It's the definition of a blessing when you have a child when you didn't even realize that you were capable of that anymore. But that's how powerful this is. That's how powerful diet is. Someone's in menopause, in full-blown menopause, has not had their cycle in years, and all of a sudden they're reproductively healthy again. And that's just just the tip of the iceberg, because that denotes that the rest of their body is so much more healthy, and that they would be able, that their body, their biology thinks that they would be healthy enough to sustain a pregnancy.
Yeah, incredible. Definitely the definition of health. I mean, 55 years of menopause into having a baby. How good's that?
Yeah. So no, it's very good. So, diet makes a huge difference. And that's just keto. That's just keto, cutting out carbohydrates and reducing your insulin, so you're not converting testosterone and estrogen. That's just one process, but it's a major one. Well, what about the rest of these things? Well, we know from, our Plants Are Going to Kill You episode, there are one of the ways that plants try to kill you or try to not have you kill them is by modulating your hormones. So having hormone modulators that screw with your hormones, send them out of whack, make you feel wretched, so then you don't want to eat that plant anymore. And we know about phytoestrogens, like in soy, there's 20 times the amount of phytoestrogens in soy than like the birth control pill. Now that's not a one-to-one comparison, because it's not exactly as powerful as estrogen in your body, but it absolutely works as estrogen in your body. And when you have 2 million nanograms of phytoestrogen and 35,000 nanograms of normal estrogen in a birth control pill, even if it's just a 10% conversion rate, like, you're screwed. Like, it's going to mess you up. And and that's just in a few ounces of soy, you're over 1 million nanograms of these phytoestrogens. And so some people eat a lot of soy, and soybean oil is in everything. Like, basically every mayonnaise is going to be soybean oil. We use so much soybean oil. I think I saw a statistic the other day that basically we're consuming an equivocal amount of animal fat to soybean oil. So there's a lot of soybean oil, in our diet, as on average.
If soy has a lot of estrogen, how's that going to, for females when they eat it, how's that going to affect their sort of natural estrogen production?
Well, it's going to screw it up.
Right.
So
okay.
You're gonna have more of an estrogenic effect than your body necessarily wants. Well, maybe you're offsetting something. Maybe you're eating so many carbohydrates that you're screwing your estrogen production, and so maybe this offsets it a bit. But who knows? It's very hard to tell. Your body knows how to regulate its hormones if you let it. You don't. I mean, you can look at, certainly don't, like, on a day-to-day basis anyway. You can do lab tests and check you and, try to modulate your hormones that way. And you can do that with some success, but it's not going to be part of the whole big picture. And also, you're not just doing that on a daily basis. Like, we're just eating, well, this is how much soy I need. Like, you're never going to know that, unless you're doing like daily blood tests and you're checking and testing, and so you're just never going to know. But it's going to throw it out. It's going to throw it out of balance, and it's not going to be helpful. And obviously there are other things in there as well, which screw with your health, which you're not going to want. But so that's a major thing, is just doing keto are taking people out of menopause. Well, you go a next step, and now you're taking out all of the plant toxins and hormone modulators that exist in plants, and this is going to further improve your health.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about, like, people's estrogen production's getting stuffed around by too much carbohydrate consumption, and then they're like, okay, that's cool, I'll just eat these sort of exogenous
Yeah.
Estrogen
Yeah.
from eating things like
Yeah.
bulk soy.
Well, it could be, that women like, some women would like tofu. Maybe that makes them feel better if they're in that position. Could be. It's even if you got it right, though, you're still making you're still not converting your testosterone into estrogen, and so now you have too much testosterone, no matter what you're doing. Even if you're sort of offsetting uh your estrogen detriment by
Mm.
eating soy or whatever, you're still going to have too much testosterone, and that's
Yeah.
going to screw you up as well.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that we've spoken about before, I think it was in the PCOS episode, was we were saying that like sort of a lot of carbohydrate consumption, or like, eating lollies and sweets and things like that, I think they're often portrayed as being quite feminine. But being addicted to sugar and having your blood sugar spike all the time throughout the day is making you way less feminine, because it's stopping you from converting that testosterone into estrogen,
Yeah, well, it's certainly screwing with your female hormones anyway, and so
Feminine
it can.
appearance, maybe what I'm saying is like,
Oh, it could be, it could be. And I mean, people that suffer from PCOS, do have different sort of characteristics like hirsutism, which are unappealing to many women. Everyone's different. Maybe some people don't mind that, or prefer it. I don't know, but there are quite a lot that don't, and wouldn't want that. So it's and then putting on weight and not being able to control your weight and other aspects of your health can be just very, very difficult, physically and mentally, certainly.
Yeah. So perhaps the best thing you can do is go and eat a steak and
Yeah,
bacon
absolutely.
and
Yeah,
eggs,
yeah.
all that sort of stuff that, blokes on the barbecue. Women need steak and meat and proper nutrition as much as men do.
Well, yeah, well, exactly right. And obviously, because we are one species, and I mean, what example can you find where the females and males of the same species have different diets?
Yeah.
Because people ask me, well, is this diet good for women too? I don't want to get all big and bulky like a man. It's like, this isn't man juice.
No,
This
absolutely
is
not.
just turn you into a dude. This is just food for humans. And so, female lions eat the same things male lions. Female badgers eat the same thing as male badgers, and so on. It's just like, it's a species thing. It's not a male female thing. And so they absolutely need exactly the same food that we do. Maybe not as much if they're smaller, but and not being as physically active, but they still need, it's the same food.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, just very importantly for hormonal health is cholesterol. Cholesterol is so vilified, but it is absolutely vital, to the point that we make cholesterol ourselves, but we only make 70% of the cholesterol we need.
Right. Okay.
Right. And that's 70% of the cholesterol we need. And that's sort of as figured out as decided by people who thought that cholesterol was bad for you. So maybe we actually need a lot more.
Probably need a lot more. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. So it could be actually that we would benefit from more than that. But either way, it is indisputable. It's just a hard fact that cholesterol is a precursor for testosterone, estrogen, progestogens, mineralocorticoids, steroids, and glucocorticoid steroids. These are the steroid hormones that are made in your adrenal glands, like cortisol. Very important. You die without these things, and you're miserable before you die. They all come from cholesterol. And so you have to have cholesterol. You have to have enough cholesterol to make the hormones that you need. And then you need other things being in balance so that you're able to utilize and convert and use those hormones to the best that your body can in the way that your body wants to. But cholesterol is in everything else. I mean, it's what's bile is a component of cholesterol has a component in bile. Every single cell in your body, the membrane is cholesterol. It's somewhere between 40 and 60% of the surface of your membrane is just cholesterol. That's like the skin around the cell, if you will. And then everything else, you have proteins and everything stuck into that. Cholesterol is vital. You absolutely need cholesterol, and for your brain as well. So so that's very, very important. And we've been told that, fat's bad, fat makes you fat. And particularly, young girls or women will, not want to be fat, and so they'll avoid that, and they're going to screw their hormonal health, and they're going to screw their hormonal health going through puberty, which is not the time you want to screw with your hormones.
No, definitely
when
not.
your body's developing like that. And so, once you go through that and you finish your developing, you're set. Like, you can optimize where you ended up, but you ended up in a different place. Just simple as that. Like, you didn't develop the way that your body was set up genetically to develop. And you can be perfectly happy and healthy. I think we both are. Like, I didn't develop to my genetic potential, or to what my genes had set out for me, because I didn't eat a perfect diet when I was breastfeeding and young, and in late adolescence. It wasn't until early adulthood that I started eating exclusively meat, and I wasn't eating enough fat either, because fat's bad for you. So, that's what I thought as well. And so I still ate fat, but I didn't eat as much. I would go for leaner cuts often.
Did you used to cut it off your steak?
Sometimes.
I
Sometimes,
like
yeah.
I wasn't sure. Is this good for me or not? I know it tastes good, but I don't know if I should be eating this.
Yeah, I would. I would sometimes. Yeah, yeah. And I even had to, when I started doing this again, and knew more about what I was doing and why I was doing it, I still, like, automatically was cutting off the fat. And so I had to say to myself, like, what am I doing? Like, no, like, I trust the research. I trust the data. Fat's good for me. Eat the damn fat. I had to tell myself that, eat the damn fat. And so I started doing that, and I had to recondition myself, because it was just like, oh God, oh, fat's bad for me. And so you sort of, that taste, even though it's enjoyable, sort of repulses you at the same time.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
but it's a conditioned response. It's conditioned because it's, oh, well, this is bad. This is bad. That flavor is associated with ill health. This is bad for me, but it's not. And so I was able to recondition myself, like, nope, this isn't bad for me. This is good for me. Eat it. And so I did, and it was great. But I certainly feel better because of that. And I've had my hormones checked. I've had everything checked. My, vitamins, minerals, all my normal blood work, as well as my hormone panel. Everything's been fine. Thyroid, testosterone, everything has been exactly where it's supposed to be. And, and there's also, studies and data that show that regardless of what your testosterone is, your body can either utilize it more effectively or less effectively, depending on, again, what you're eating. So carnitine has been shown to do a lot of things in your body. First of all, it's very important for your brain's development, your neuronal development. And there's actually kind of autism that has shown to be caused by a deficiency in carnitine. And so, when kids aren't getting enough carnitine, their brain won't develop the way it's supposed to. Most of us make carnitine and generally make enough to stop this from happening, but not everyone does. And so if you cut out meat and animal products, and you just get no carnitine, like if you're on a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet where you're very limited in the amount of meat that you eat, you may not be getting enough carnitine, or your child may not be getting enough carnitine, and their brain won't develop to their potential, and they could get this specific kind of autism, which is caused by this. It's caused, not correlated, caused. And that was shown by Texas A&M in recent years. So the thing with carnitine, obviously, this is very important in a lot of other things, but specifically to do with your hormonal health, and particularly for men in general, is that carnitine has been shown to increase the number of testosterone receptors that your cell has. So the same amount of testosterone is going to go farther. Okay, so that's how it works. You have receptors, and you have the hormones or whatever chemical. And so if you have 50 of these things, they're going to just bounce around and randomly knock into these. You have 50, that'll be fine. They're just randomly going to be hitting into each other, and they're going to be stimulating that receptor once they latch on properly. the more substrate you have, obviously, the more molecules you have in there banging around. So you're going to have more interactions with those receptors. But of course, if you have more receptors, you're also going to have more interactions because the likelihood of hitting one of those receptors is going to go up. And so what, you can optimize your testosterone by having more testosterone, but you can also have more receptors. And then the testosterone that you have works better. It just does more of its thing. So you need both, and carnitine can actually help on the receptor side of things. So it can increase the number of receptors. So, you have testosterone X and someone else has testosterone X, but they're not really getting, the same, feeling as you are. But you have a ton more receptors. So you're more muscular, more slender, have more, mental clarity and everything else that comes with it. Obviously you can go further on the other side of things and get all, get a bunch of roid rage, but when it's physiological and it's normal for you, then it's good, it's positive. And so when you're not getting enough of that, you don't feel as good, and you aren't as healthy. So carnitine is very important in that as well. And so that's, again, it's just something that comes from eating animals, and red meat in particular. There's a ton of carnitine in red meat. And there is some carnitine in other things, but there's a lot in red meat. And so people that eat red meat, they're going to, again, optimize their hormones even more.
Fantastic. Going along that sort of chain, maybe we should shift into talking about testosterone and talk about, how men can optimize their testosterone. We've just sort of talked about carnitine, but what else should we be doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, and exactly right. This is about optimization. We're not saying we need absolutely more of this. We're trying to get our bodies physiological for our systems. We're not trying to get super, at least I'm not trying to get super physiological. Or I don't encourage that in people either, because you can get, just as many problems from doing that as you can from not having enough. So it's about optimizing, and there's so many different things that come into that. And just speaking generally, being on the diet of that's biologically appropriate, that your body was designed to eat, obviously is going to optimize that. And being optimal is the key word there, not massive number, because more isn't always better, And so it's all about optimization. And there are a lot of reasons for this that we probably won't be able to cover in just one talk. And certainly, I don't know all of them. I don't think, no one knows all of them yet either. But when you eat biologically appropriate diet, your hormones are going to be optimized. That's just all there is to it. And so regardless of what's happening, regardless of the mechanisms, it will be optimal. You can take that to the bank. Some specifics with testosterone, again, having enough cholesterol, having this dietary source of the precursor for your hormones, getting enough sunlight, vitamin D. This is very important. You can think of vitamin D as a hormone as well. It's very important. It has a hormonal property in your body. But then there's just simple things. So even people that aren't doing keto or aren't doing carnivore, you can actually increase your testosterone and your human growth hormone, which is very, very important for multiple different processes in your body. And it's one of those things that you have like in these anti-aging clinics where they optimize hormones and optimize health so that people sort of look younger, feel better. Growth hormone is a major component of that. A very simple way of increasing your growth hormone and your testosterone in men, even if you're, and probably especially if you're eating a standard American diet or standard Australian diet, is just by fasting, doing fasts, and doing even just intermittent fasting. If you just go into like an intermittent fast with like an 8-hour window, or you can eat throughout the day and you basically eat on alternate days. So you just some form of some pattern of fasting. Yep. This has actually been shown in studies to double. Oh, sorry. Is it double? No, I think it's 50%. Increase your testosterone by 50%.
Wow.
And your growth hormone by 50%. So that's quite amazing. And that's, that you may have diminishing returns because those studies are done with people that are just eating, a standard Western diet, right? And so, part of that's going to be that you're just sort of getting away from
You're
things.
eliminating all that processed shit.
And so I don't know how much more you get out of that by being on carnivore, but it's certainly something that's interesting. I've also seen in my patients that their testosterone will, within a matter of months, for like middle-aged men, will actually jump up 25 to 30%, sometimes a little more. And, they probably have, low T. This would be someone that would qualify for, testosterone replacement therapy, which is, it's fine. I don't have a problem with it, with people doing that, getting back up to a physiological level. But the point is that going on a carnivore diet, you may not even need to do that. And so, you have people that, would be in that, qualify for, TRT, but now all of a sudden they're on carnivore for 4 months, and now they don't even need it. And their body's just making, banging away with testosterone. You have more carnitine, so your body's utilizing it more efficiently, and people feel great,
And doing it, like doing it naturally and making your own is always going to be a better solution, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Surely.
I mean, yeah. And, because the thing is that, having your body work the way it wants to work, there's a lot to be said for that. Now, when we age, we're just not going to be producing hormones in the same way as we are in our, late teens and mid 20s. You're just not. So the thought is on these replacement therapies is that you're getting back to sort of how you were in your 20s. And, is that bad? It's like, well, if it was bad for you, wouldn't that have been bad in your 20s? And so that's the argument. So it just goes about, how people feel. And, as you age, you're just not going to make, hormones the way you used to. But, you can, just like people going into on a ketogenic diet can come out of menopause, given that it's not entirely too late. You can actually just give HRT and simulate a woman's cycle and actually continue their fertility years. When I think in the 90s, there was a lady who did this with hormone replacement, and very specifically so that she could get pregnant. She was 63.
Wow.
So but this was completely done with exogenous hormones.
Right. Okay.
There wasn't. Yeah. So it was just like they gave her a pattern of hormones exogenously that mimicked her normal cycle, and her body actually ovulated. Which is great. And so
which is great, or is it, I don't know, playing with nature? What do you think?
Well, I think, who knows if it's great.
Great for her, I guess, if she wants to have a baby.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, it's great in that sense, but I don't know if it turned out great because she's 63, and that's pregnancy is tough, childbirth is tough, and so I actually never heard the end of that story. I don't actually know if the pregnancy went well, or if something tragic happened. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, so that's just the power of these hormones. So, you're not going to be making hormones in the same way. And so some people, want to get back up to physiological. I get asked all the time if I take that stuff. I don't, definitively fucking don't. And
wait, so you I mean, you don't take TRT or anything like that?
No, man. I mean, I don't even take aspirin.
HRT. Natural as.
Yeah. So no, I mean, the only thing that I would take every now and then is if I'm not getting outside. I mean, because I'm in the hospital before dawn and I'm leaving after dusk, and sometimes that's every single day for weeks. And so if I'm not getting out into the sun, where am I getting my vitamin D from? I'll get it from butter. I'll get it from animal fat, but I won't necessarily get as much as my body would like. And so, when I feel that I'm sort of just not getting enough sunlight, I'll take some vitamin D, just because it's good to have. And we're not living natural lives really, and so like normally I'd be outside doing things, all day, but I don't have that luxury at the moment. So that's really all I'll take, and then if you're feeling like you're getting sick, or you want to boost your immune system, you can take some zinc or some magnesium or some vitamin C, and vitamin D certainly. And so, I haven't really been sick in years, but if I'm sort of around a lot of sick people and people sort of don't, I might just take some of those things just to bump it up. But all my levels have always gotten in check, have always been normal.
Magnesium, zinc, and vitamin D. And as you say, this is sometimes when things aren't quite right lifestyle wise.
Yeah. And some vitamin C as well, but not all that much. You don't need to take that much. So that's sort of a cocktail that's sort of become popular in some medical circles to do with COVID when that started being a thing. And there were studies actually even published by the CDC that if you get your vitamin D level above a pretty normal level, the mortality rate effectively goes to zero. That's published by the CDC. You can look that up. And then if you basically get double that, up to a high normal sort of level of vitamin D, the morbidity rate of the coronavirus effectively goes to zero. So you don't even get any like long COVID or any sort of serious long-term side effects.
Dude, I'm so glad we had the whole world shut down for 2 years because of this thing.
Yeah, just because people didn't want to get out in the sun, and so that's what people were actually commenting on it and saying that instead of a flu season, they're thinking of it more as a low vitamin D season.
Oh my God, man.
Vitamin D is so important for your overall health and immune health that when you don't have enough of it, it won't work properly and you won't be able to fight off illnesses as well.
Well, on the COVID stuff, I've got some firsthand experience because we may have contracted COVID, and certainly a couple of my friends have, and taking a little cocktail of quite natural vitamins and things you can get over the counter, like just you don't need a prescription, including a mega dose of vitamin D, better in 24 hours from this thing that shut down the world for 2 years. So if anyone wants the cocktail that I got from my friend, message me and I'll send you a screenshot with what's in there. It freaking works.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that, they'll give in hospitals as well. In the places that do well with this, because some of the times they're giving medicines that don't work. It's all just ad hoc. People are just treating this in very different ways. They're and they're having very different results as you would expect. But a very common cocktail for active COVID, or just to try to stave it off if you're around sick people a lot, is the vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, vitamin C, and that seems to work really well, in specific doses. But it's very hard to take too much vitamin D. There are case reports of people taking hundreds of thousands of units of vitamin D a day for months, just because they were dumb. I don't know. You'd have to take so much to do that. Just like half a handful of pills. So I don't know why
it got COVID bad.
Well, it wasn't during COVID. It was
I know.
Before, but they had actually no discernible side effects from it. So I'm sure there are. Eventually, water will kill you, but from drinking water, obviously drowning will kill you right away. But but just from consuming and imbibing water, you'll die eventually with about 50 gallons worth. But vitamin D at some point would almost beg your belief if it wasn't toxic at some point. But whatever that toxic point is, it's way out there, because there are people taking way too much vitamin D for way too long, and they're not having problems.
They're still kicking.
And so other things you can have more of a problem with. But so vitamin D is a massive one, and you should think of that as a hormone. It is a hormone, and it's a precursor to hormones. And so, this is something that's very, very important for your overall health and your immune health.
So not getting outside and then covering yourself with sunscreen, probably not a good idea.
Yeah. Well, if, as you said in the plants are trying to kill you episode, there are certain things like photosensitizers in plants well, in certain plants that will make you more sensitive to UV light, will make you burn more easily and make that burn be more damaging to your DNA and potentially precipitate, cancer or other sorts of skin damage, and down the track cause more problems. So, we know that. And when you're not eating that sort of stuff, your body's going to be much more healthy. Your skin's going to be much more healthy. It's just going to look more healthy as well. It's going to be softer. It's going to be, thicker, firmer collagen, and it's just going to be nicer, more youthful skin. And it's going to hold up better in the sunlight. I mean, animals live outside. We're animals. We didn't evolve in a box, and we certainly didn't evolve in a building. The sun's good for you. But if you are eating things that make you sensitive to sunlight and cause damage, it's still good for you. It's just that the plants are bad for you, and the plants are screwing with a natural, healthy process.
Yeah.
The sun didn't all of a sudden become unhealthy. It's the plants that are unhealthy and using something healthy to screw with you. But sunlight's actually still good for you.
Yeah. So you only need the sunscreen because you're eating the plants. And it's a bit like what we were saying with the estrogen before. It's like you only need the tofu and the soybeans because your estrogen's all over the place. It's not root cause stuff. Question for you. So now that I'm 30 and I'm starting to think about my testosterone, when I optimize my testosterone, which I think I'm pretty close to doing, because I go out in the sun, I eat a lot of steak. I'm basically carnivore. What can I expect? Like, what are the benefits of having optimized testosterone?
Oh, well, you'll have, more, muscle bone density. You'll have, more mental clarity. You'll have more energy. You'll have more, obviously, sexual vigor and drive. And that again is just a marker of health, and, virility is just a marker of health in general. So it can have a lot of benefits, and just basically you will feel better physically and mentally, and you'll be able to perform better. You'll be able to perform better, mentally as well as physically. And then, those physical actions that you do, you'll get more out of it, because your body's being signaled, to grow and respond in certain ways with that testosterone, which is why people take testosterone.
Yeah, exactly.
Very simply. But at the same time, you still need to stimulate your body. I was, I went to college with people, and some of them used that sort of stuff, but it was always funny because it was generally the ones that actually weren't working all that hard that had to use it, because they just wanted a shortcut. And, they had, like, myself and my friends who we put in a lot of work in the weight room and on the rugby field to really, really push ourselves and really get the most out of our bodies. And these guys really didn't, and so they sort of used that. And, there was one guy who was a roommate of a good friend of mine. I mean, and this guy would go to the gym basically every day and lift. And his roommate, we always invite him, like, hey, you want to go? Sometimes he'd go, maybe like once a week. But we would go at least 4 to 5 times a week. And he would show up once. This kid was doing steroids. He wanted to be big and strong like us.
Do the work,
man.
man.
I'm gonna do this. And he did. And he just did, like, multiple different steroids. And the guy wasn't working out. So he's doing all this damage to his body. He's taking all this risk legally and all this expense financially and from his health perspective. And he's not even doing anything with it. So the guy did this for months. He looked exactly the same as he did before that. And it was just like, and it, he didn't really look like he was someone who worked out a lot, And so
you need the stimulus.
Yeah. Well, and, like, he felt good, he's probably just coursing with hormones. He's like going through puberty. He's like, yes. But, like, he wasn't, actually utilizing it. And so he didn't get the physical adaptations that he could have had, but he could have gotten a lot of results just by putting in the work. And that's the thing. It's hard work that does it. It's not the chemicals. It's not, just adding to it. Your body will do that for you. If you treat your body well and you push yourself and you work hard, your body's going to do just fine. Like, you don't need those things, at a certain point. we're not really going to make these things. And so if you feel better and you have more energy and you're happier like that, you go for it. Like, I don't have a problem with people doing that to physiological levels. I think you hurt yourself when you go past that, but to physiological levels, like, go for it. But you you need to actually put in the work. And and that's another thing too, just exercise will increase your growth hormone and testosterone. You're just stimulating your body to work. You get busy living or you get busy dying. When these processes aren't needed anymore, your body will shut them down because it's efficient. It's trying to conserve energy. Why would you expend so much energy and so many resources in your body for something that you just don't need? Your body's not just going to say, like, just build the hell out of your pecs unless you are stimulating it to. Your body heals and grows in lines of stress. And so this goes for bone mineral density as well. If you're putting stress on the bone, it's going to form new pieces of bone to support in those directions.
Yeah.
And so in fact, actually, Dr. John Jaquish, who did the
And I listened to that. That was a really good chat.
Oh yeah,
I should go and check out this interview. Yeah.
Well done. So he actually one of his early inventions was something to help with osteoporosis. Because his mom had osteoporosis, and he's like, okay, how do I fix this? And it's basically just putting pressure on your bones, and it's just it's compressive pressure. You just hold yourself there, and you're just pushing, and your bones are getting stressed in a certain direction, and so they're stimulated to grow and reinforce themselves. That's how your body works, And when you don't do that, your body's just gonna be like, right, we don't need these here. We're gonna take them down for scraps. So, and that'll happen at any time. So you just need to put in the work, and that will stimulate growth hormone, that will stimulate testosterone. And so one of the easiest ways to bump up your growth hormone is to do a heavy workout. Like a heavy leg day will actually give you a hit of growth hormone that's similar to that, which we be giving people exogenously once they, run out, and need supplementation. Just do a heavy leg day, and you'll get the same hit of growth hormone. So it's very powerful. And that's that's definitely one to remember is resistant exercises. You will fundamentally better your hormonal system.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just nutrition. You still need to move your body. You need to put it under stress. You need to do the resistance work. I suppose one
out in the sun. Yeah. Everything.
Out in the sun. Yeah. I mean, one big benefit of carnivore that I found is that it is easier to train. So you've got more energy. And if you've worked all day and then you still want to get a workout in, you can, because you're not crashing. And you can train for longer. Like, you've got lots of great, experiences where you've just trained when you've been, strict carnivore like you are now. So yeah, you still need to train, but training is more pleasurable. There's less inflammation in your body, so it doesn't hurt as much. There's less like arthritis, sore knees, all that sort of thing. It's more enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And when I talk about our metabolism being optimal when you're on a carnivore diet or even ketogenic diet, you're going to be in the optimal metabolic state. You're going to be in our primary metabolic state. That's what I argue. We call it a fed state and a fasting state. I think that's completely wrong. People have listened to this stuff before. I've mentioned it before, but the fed state, I think, is just actually a pathological defense mechanism to protect yourself against high blood sugar, and then you correspondingly increase your insulin to just get this stuff the hell out of there, so you're not killing yourself with blood sugar. And then that high insulin and the responding sort of issues from that are all going to screw you up in a number of different ways. And we see this in many, many disease processes. So when you don't have that in your system, your body actually works very, very well and very normally. So when you stimulate your body to go in a carnivore metabolism, you actually do just feel better, because that's how we feel better, is when we burn more energy. So this is why people drink coffee or they take stimulants, because that forces your body to burn more energy. And so you're burning hotter and you feel good because you're burning more energy. Well, most people have to take an energy drink or a supplement to force their body to start burning more energy so that they feel good enough to go work out. Whereas, you or I will start working out and our body will produce the exact amount of energy that we need for what we're doing.
Start to feel
Yeah.
better
So
instantly.
yeah, you do. And so you feel better because when you start working hard, because when you start working harder, your body starts producing and burning more energy, and you feel better because of you're burning more energy. And so that makes you want to work out harder and want to work out harder because you feel better and better and better and better. And so it's this positive feedback loop, and you just feel great. So you actually feel good during the workout, not just like you're killing yourself in the gym and you're like, oh, I hate this. But then you leave and you go like, yeah, I'm glad I went. I feel great as I'm doing it. I went to the gym probably for the first time in a number of weeks since I was on vacation, but I just wanted to get like a good leg day in. So like the old school bodybuilders like Serge Nubret and others, they would do this thing. They were killing it. Where like if they're doing upper body, they would do like someone would do like 8 sets of 8. And so you do like 8 where it's hard to do, but then like to where you go, you keep doing it, and then where 8 becomes really, really difficult. But for upper body stuff, you only give yourself 30 seconds rest, because the point is you really, really want to just drive blood in there and get those things stimulated. And so I was sort of doing that, and you do wear yourself out quicker. Like I can just sort of keep going if I give myself enough rest, like a couple minutes, and my body replenishes its glycogen. I can just keep going. But it's sort of interesting to really wear yourself out like that by not giving yourself enough rest. And then on legs, they would only give themselves a minute. So it was just 60 seconds rest between, a heavy set of legs. Sometimes you don't catch your breath, by then. So I was doing this, and I was doing heavy legs, and I was sort of doing sets of 12. And so I ended up doing 8 sets of 12 with just a minute rest in between. And like it was going, and like I was definitely feeling burn on my legs and my glutes. And I finished that up, and it was a tough workout, and I felt great doing it. I really liked it. Normally, when I hadn't done legs in months, probably, I'd just be crippled right now. I would not be able to sit down. I'd just be like in agony. I wouldn't be able to walk properly. I feel fine,
Yeah.
There's actually no problem. Like I definitely feel like my legs are saying like, yeah, we worked a lot. We need to heal here, but they don't hurt. They're not sore. They're not stiff. And so, it's fantastic. And you just, that little thing, you feel better during your workout, but also you don't have the same recovery and pain and agony that you get after your workout, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, the fast recovery. It means you can train every day. It's not like, some people go to the gym once a week to do legs. You can literally do some form of legs every day, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So think about how much better your results are going to be, and how much more you're going to enjoy working out if you can push it, get a heap of blood flow, and the next day, good to go.
Yeah. And that's it. Because a lot of people get quite nervous about exercising, because they're like, well, I haven't worked out in a while, I don't want to be sore. Well, you don't have that problem anymore. My dad was telling me he had a friend of his who was older than he was, sort of like, late middle age, and he wanted to get back in the gym, and he went to a personal trainer and said, hey, look, I haven't worked out in a long time, just go easy on me. I want to ease into this. I want to get going, but just ease into me. And the guy like really just pushed him. It was like a drill sergeant sort of guy, and he was just, his whole body just like couldn't get out of bed the next day. He's like, yeah, screw that guy, and he never went back because he was so sore. That doesn't exist if you don't eat this crap. And it's very hard for people to believe, but all you have to do is do it. Just try it. Stop eating that crap for 2 weeks. You will not be able to get sore. I guarantee you. It just doesn't happen.
And you'll notice things like the aches and pains in the morning in certain areas have gone. Like, if you've got sore ankles in the morning, or knees, or what have you, you just completely forget about it. Or back, like even sort of lower back. So many people have back pain, and I'm convinced it's inflammation from eating processed foods.
It is. And you can have injuries, and you can have wear and tear and arthritis, but the pain that you experience is going to be very, very different depending on what you eat. So I've had back pain since I was 15 years old. Always played a very aggressive sports that are very, taxing on your body. I had 2 desiccated discs on an MRI when I was 20, and so, I have lower back pain, and even now, it's a bit sort of like, get certain positions, or, sort of like, bending over, like, getting socks on, or whatever. And I'm just like, get like a bit of a, like, kind of a discomfort, but it's nothing that limits me. It's just something that I notice every now and then. Contrast that with eating any amount of carbs or rice or beans or anything like that. Even just like the last time I had any of that garbage, it was sort of on a plate that I went to a restaurant, and it sort of was just on it. And I was trying to scrape it off, but it just didn't get everything off. And so I was like, all right, well, is it that big a deal? Let's see, dose mix of poison. And my back felt like someone was stabbing me in the spine for 4 days after that. I was just in absolute agony. I have, I have, just, some arthritis issues on my patellar tendon, or sorry, not patellar, my patella, not my patellar tendon. And, that's just from years of, doing kickboxing and knee strikes and then rugby, and just stuff wears down. The rest of the knee is perfect, but that part's, uncomfortable. And so I had an MRI, and it showed, this issue. And the radiologist I was talking to, he's just like, that right there, that knee would keep me in bed. I would not be able to get out of bed with that knee. And I was like, I don't even notice it, like doing certain things, it'll be, noticeable, but it's noticeable. It's not a hindrance. It does not cause me any real problems.
I mean, like, naturally, like, imagine our sort of ancestors or hunter-gatherers, they would have had so many busted ligaments and patellas and, all sorts of injuries, impact injuries along the way. And they weren't constantly in pain or bedridden, maybe they were when they ate the wrong thing, but.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that there aren't really as many examples of arthritis in those natural cultures as well. And there was a story that I read. First of all, like the Maasai in Africa, like when living traditionally, they just don't get the diseases that we get, and they don't get arthritis. And there was an interview with one of these guys where he was talking about, like, his dad actually was a trader, and he interacted with people in the cities, and so he would bring whatever the Maasai had to sell and trade into the cities. And so he would have these lunches and these dinners with different sorts of people, and they'd have sweets and candies and desserts or whatever. And he would sort of eat that stuff when he was out, interacting with the Western, cultures. And so he was mostly eating what the Maasai always eat, but just that, just eating that much. This guy was saying that this guy, he started getting arthritis when no one gets arthritis, and he had knee problems and back problems. And the guy, like, died in his 90s, which is super weird, because normally, like, that's young, for these guys, when you normally live to 120, and so it's interesting. Your body just shouldn't just fall apart like that, structurally. Just shouldn't just break down. And when you're out in the wild and you need to hunt to live, and you need to fight off panthers and saber-toothed cats.
Yeah, you don't want to have a bit of arthritis in your knee, so you can't
get
away.
So, oh, that's my back, and
hold tight.
yeah. I mean, that's it. That's your lunch at that point. Yeah,
exactly right.
So, and people don't realize this. They think that people just broke down and just died so early and so young. It's not true. You look at Alexander the Great. He died young. What about his generals? He had some of his one of his generals, cavalry generals, was there fighting on the front line. Dude was like 76, and he was in the battles fighting on a horse. 76, right? What? How many 76-year-olds do you know that are able to, ride around on a war horse, sword fighting with people and winning, and his pikemen, they had these special Macedonian sort of spearmen. They had sort of 5 ranks of the spearmen with these very long, sharp, shredded ass spears, and so you had to get through 5 waves of things trying to stab you just to get to the first guy, you know? So it was very difficult. I mean, they absolutely just destroyed all these different militaries because they just, you know, you couldn't get through that porcupine sort of formation. Their guys' ages ranged anywhere from 20 to 60.
Wow.
You know, so you had 60-year-olds there with I think it was like a 14 or 16-foot long spear with a heavy weight at the back and a big, like 5-foot long blade at the front, you know, and that's not light, you know, and you're there in formation, you know, stabbing the hell out of people and doing this, you know, time after time after time for years and in their 60s, you know what I mean? And, you know, generals in their 70s going around fighting on the front lines. So, you know, our bodies are actually designed to hold up a lot better than we give them credit for. And it's not like Alexander the Great, you know, and his warriors were all carnivores. You know, they probably ate a lot of meat. You know, the Greeks knew that meat was very important, but, you know, they would eat other things as well. And so, you know, we just are really on the other side of that, where we're eating so much of this toxic junk that, you know, we just think it's normal for the body just to break down and crumble to dust.
Totally. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Great combo on hormones. We went all over the place.
Yeah.
Bottom line, get your hormone health right, because there's a wonderful life out there to be lived if you do get it in check.
Yeah. Well, and also is just, you know, this is just another piece in the puzzle of optimizing your health. You know, your health is going to be optimized if you're eating optimally and you're giving your body exactly what it needs to run optimally, and you're not introducing a lot of harmful substances that are going to detract from that. And so this is just another piece of that puzzle, showing that this is how these certain things can help optimize your hormonal health. But it's doing so many other things as well to optimize your health in other ways. And so that's really what it's about. And if people want to do something outside of that, I'm happy for you if you want to do whatever you want to do. I'm just trying to tell people what I think the evidence shows to be optimal. And so if you want optimal, this is what I think it is. And you can try for yourself and see what you think. That's how I feel the best. And so that's what I do. And if someone wants to do that, that's great. And if they don't want to do that, that's fine. You know, just trying to give people information and help them make a good decision for themselves.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Anthony.
Cool. No problem. Thank you.